Hi, so today I wanted to show you how I set up my super simple cake smash and splash sessions. So this is the full width of my living room from this wall to this wall. So I find that the car size roll, in fact it's not even the car size roll, it's the small roll, it's the 1.35 meters from Creativity Backgrounds is perfect because a lot of UK homes are like this size, so you can get the backdrop set up. You can still have space to get round because you don't want to fill the whole living room and not be able for your clients to move around or to be able to get to the kitchen to get the cake, etc. So this is backdrop stand is from Amazon. Then the paper is, and I would obviously normally take this down. I wouldn't use stepping stones, but I'm just doing this quickly. The paper is then the Arctic White from Creativity Backgrounds. And then I just use, I'm tripping over the stepping stones. I use a clamp at the top, each side, just to stop it moving. And then I would normally tape it at the bottoms here. Then the flags are these fabric buntings from Amazon, and I'm going to send you the link because the company that does these are like $4.99 for this fabric bunting, and they come in every different colour shades. So I've got them in probably every colour combo. And then when you're putting your flags up, this is really important for filling, is make sure that you leave a space here. Because I know, and I'll show you this when we do the Photoshop part, I know I'm going to cut down this line in Photoshop, and I want to be able to, so I don't want the flag right on the edge because then it's going to be really hard to cut and fill through it. So I want to make sure that one of these edges I can see right on the edge here, and that'll make more sense when I show you. And I do the same on this side as well here. So I know I'm going to cut through here to fill, and then I literally just tape those to the sides. And you want to make sure it's low enough, so you probably need your I tripped on a stone again. You want to take some test shots and make sure that's low enough that you see it in the background, because it's so low down that you think, oh my gosh, that's far too low. But when the baby's sitting, then it does have to be quite low so you can see it in the background. And then the other things I use, I'm going to try and flip this around to show you the stuff I use. In fact, I'll show you. So what I do first of all is I just have the bunting up, and I have like a fluffy style rug, and I would do portrait photos of the kid this way, and I have those in like a bunch of colours. So I've got like a white one, a grey one, and a kind of dusky pink one, and I think all of these came from either TK Maxx or Home Sense. Yeah, I think these are Home Sense, and they were like about $12.99, so they're like a really nice kind of flocati style, but they're not obviously as expensive. So I would do portrait photos first like this before putting the cake down. And then I'll reset up and show you what I would do with the cake. Okay, so then the next thing I would do is I lift up the rug and I put down the cake plate, and I mean, this is as simple as I get, so even these flowers look a bit too much for me. So I have a white cake plate. I have one of these like number ones, these just like, I don't know, whatever they are, cardboard number ones. You can get those they come in like brown numbers from Hobbycraft, and then I use acrylic paint to just paint it white. You need acrylic paint because like kid paint won't stick to it, and they'll just have loads of coats and it won't ever look that really nice white. So these are just silk flowers that I buy in like bundles like this off of maybe Amazon or in pound shops, and then I just cut the heads off and arrange them how I want. And I kind of have a box of like bags of these and loads of different kinds of colours. I have a slightly different style cake plate that I use as well. All of these are plastic. You don't want to use anything that's china or glass or anything that if it broke could be dangerous. So both of these plastic cake plates came off of Amazon as well. And then the other thing I think is really essential is to have like a spatula thing and these, whatever they're called, baking things, because when you get the cake from the baker, you need to kind of slide it off of I like to slide it off of the silver base and onto the cake plate. So it's kind of like a skill. I find it really good if you slide one of these under like this, one of them under like that, and just kind of just shuffle the bottom bit around and try and make sure at least one side stays immaculate. It doesn't matter if the back gets a little bit of a bump in it, doesn't matter too much, and this thing can be really helpful as well. And then the other thing I always have is a bunch of wooden spoons as well, because some kids really just don't like to touch the cake. And you can use the wooden spoons to drum on the cake to get them interested. If they don't like the sensation on their hands, some of them will use the spoon and eat with the spoon. I have spares so that I can do it too, and we can make a game of it and sit and play drumming. I always start with it on the cake plate, and then I take this one comes off, the top comes off, and I'll normally take the bottom bit away. I do tend to sweep these. I don't keep the one out all the time because it's a pain in editing if it's to always straighten it up. So I will have the cake out on its own and the kid, and you kind of want their bum here and their legs coming up either side. And then what I always do is give them maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, and then I use the spoon and I open the cake out and I physically spread it around a bit as well, kind of bust it open. And that's really it. So I'm going to show you what I do. Then once I've done that, I chop the bottom bit of the paper off, roll some more out, take the clamps off the top, roll some more out, re-clamp it at the top, and then put the bath bit down. And then here's what I put down for the bath. So I leave the flags up again, although a lot of the bath photos are really in tight like this and you don't always see them. I do like to do quite a lot of cake smash stuff in portrait as well, and it saves having to fill everything in Photoshop. And I also like to get in and get close-ups. I like to also get overhead. When you're doing overhead, depending on where your light is, I tend to shuffle the bath sideways and come in overhead like this, so that there's still enough light coming in from this kind of angle here to light the baby. And then I try to get on a step overhead and get them to look up. Super cute. As long as you do that early enough in the bath part of the session that it's still bubbly and you're not just looking down at like dirty war. So I will have the bath and the one out, and the one just for a couple of photos, and then again I take it out because I find it quite annoying to constantly like straighten up in editing. And then lots of bubble bath. I get parents to provide their own bubble bath so that it's a product the kids' skin is used to. And I like to have a bubble machine, and I'll normally have the parents standing at like this side over here, standing height with the bubble machine and pointing at the bath so the bubbles are falling kind of down from the air. It's really cute if you can get the kid to kind of look up at the bubbles. But here's the trick: get them to stand not directly in line with the bath so the bubbles are falling over, but like in front here. So they would be standing like in front here, so the bubbles are falling down like in front of the bath, so when the kid's looking up it's not having all these soapy bubbles falling into its eyes. But from this angle it still looks like it's falling down on their head. And and inside the bath as well, I have these little like non-stick mats, these little like things that just stick onto the bottom that I put in the bottom of the bath like this, and it stops the little kid sliding about inside the bath. So this bath was actually some kind of dog water bath thing, and I think it came from TK Maxx, and I also have it in like white as well, a white one as well. Obviously I don't have it this way around, I would turn it this way around, and it originally comes with these kind of things, but they are not strong enough to hold it with water in, so never hold it with this, and they tend to break off, and I find that the little ones pick at them as well, and they can just come off into their hands, and you don't want them like putting that in their mouth, so I actually cut them off. And this is a new one, but I'm away to cut these off as well because I don't like them. And if you see any of the holes like this in editing, you can just fill them in really quickly. These baths both needed to be sealed, so I just put literally like bath sealant round and let them dry for like 48 hours, and they've never leaked since. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's all I do. Oh, the bath mat underneath is like a little white fluffy bath mat, which was like £5 from Asda, Georgia Asda. So that's literally all I use. And so when I go to a client session, I have this box, the bath, my backdrop stand, and the paper, and then the fabrics and stuff go into like a Ziploc bag, and that's all I travel with. And the cake, obviously. But that's it. So I'll show you in editing how to fill in those sides. So when you're taking photos like this, it's really easy to just fill in all this area and space in the side. Okay, so then once you get your images into Lightroom, so this is what you'll tend to see for your landscape images. You'll see there's gaps at the side, and that's why it's really important, because when we fill these sides in, when I showed you how to set up the backdrop with the bunting to make sure that you can see white on both of these sides, and that's really going to help when we take it into Photoshop to fill in those sides. So when I get an image like this, obviously I will just right click on it here in Lightroom, select edit in, and then take it into Photoshop, and that's going to open the image up in Photoshop. So it's going to open up my image here, and then what I always do is I make a copy of the background. So just make a copy so that if I do mess anything up horrifically, I can just delete that copy and start again. And then with these spaces, this is what I'm going to use to I use content aware and just fill in the edges. So to do that, I would select the lasso tool here. So just click on the lasso tool, and then I want to go in just a little bit into this white, and I literally just drag it round this edge, up and over at the top. So on a PC then I would press Shift and F5, or you could do Edit and Fill, which is the same thing. And then I make sure it says Content Aware. So Content Aware, Mode Normal, and Opacity 100%, and click OK. And it does a really good job of this, just filling it in with white. Especially if there's no flags on the edge here. So that is pretty much filled the whole thing in, and I'm totally happy with that. And then I would do the same on the other side. So just, I'm doing this quite quick. I'd normally be a little bit neater and go nearer that edge, but it actually really doesn't matter. And then again, Shift F5 or Edit and Fill, and hit OK. And then it's just going to kind of sample what's around that, and it's going to fill in that edge for me. And that's it. And that's literally how I fill in the edges. Boom, done. So if I just go back a step and show you what's really important to keep that edge. So imagine that edge wasn't there and this flag was right on the edge. If that was my edge I was selecting here and part of that flag is in it, then when you do your content aware, it's going to catch some of that flag and it's going to give you a bit of a weird fill normally. Yeah, so look, then it does something like that. And then you're going to have to try and go through and get rid of that either by clone stamping or like painting over it, and it's just a real pain. So if you just make sure that you leave that white gap when you're putting your flags in, make sure that you can see white at the edges, then this is so much easier when you do have to fill in the edges. And it's literally as simple as that. 2 steps. It'll do a really good job at filling it in. And then I'm done. And then once I've finished, I just click on the X here and it will say save your changes. I will say yes. And what it does is it then saves those changes and takes you back into Lightroom with this edited copy. Yeah, so then it takes you back into Lightroom with your edited image in here. So I think this was my original. Yeah, and then this is, I've obviously done this a few times. This gallery is an old one that's since been delivered. And then this is my filled in one. So then I tend to just select the ones that I want by picking them, and then I would filter on the selected ones at the end for exporting. So I'm not exporting any of those ones, and you just go through and fill in the edges like that. So it's super simple. And then my cake smash, so this is one of my super simple cake smashes. If I go to here just to kind of show you, and it's basically using the exact setup I showed you. So at the start here, I'll do the kind of portrait-y images on the backdrop with the fluffy blankets, and I like to get in some kind of wide shots, some close-ups. Then in will come the cake, and again it's that super simple cake with some flowers. This is busted open a little bit. I tried to get wide shots of the whole thing. I like to then get in for some really cute close-up shots. I really like to try and get some overhead shots as well if you can. Those are always really cute. And then just a kind of mixture, a variety of things like that. Then getting in close for some details. If you can get like cakey toes, that kind of thing, little toes in cake, that's always good. Fingers, anything like that. And then reset for the bath and the bath photos. I think this one I think I added a bubble into this one. Yeah, I did. Because there were bubbles, but there was just not one in the right place. So I just put a bubble in there. I don't often do that. I do tend to use real bubbles in these. But you can add overlays as well. That works. The overhead bath shot that I was telling you about, that's always super cute. And again, just a wide variety of wide shots and close-up shots and things like that. But it's all just done on that white backdrop with the bunting and the bath and the little bath mat. And the cake is, again, super simple. So if you have any questions on any of that, anything that needs explaining or you're not sure about, then just give me a shout.